Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. So, we will begin the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita today. Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So, here every chapter is ending with the word yoga. So, every chapter, we're getting more closer to the divine. It's understanding of who am I and really understanding the essence. That's why each and every chapter is ending with yoga, karma yoga, dhyana yoga, jnana yoga. It just goes on with the word yoga. So the first chapter, Arjuna, Vishada Yoga, the showdown has started, like the D-Day has begun. Okay, so it's the day where the war is starting. After too many deliberations, too many messengers going back and forth, finally it was concluded that the war is beginning and it just started. So it was the much awaited moment. It is arrived now. Now what happens? How the war is going to begin? What happens to Arjuna? What happens to Krishna? So how the conversation will go on is what we will be seeing from now on. So Arjuna Vishada Yoga is full of Arjuna's ranting. Yeah, he talks about dharma, he gives a lot of discourses to Krishna. Arjuna starts to give discourse to Krishna. Yeah, so one full chapter, Krishna patiently listens to Arjuna's ranting. Yeah, he does not say a word. This whole chapter, he does not say a word. Like a very patient teacher, he just listens to all the excuses what Arjuna wants to give. Yeah, so he starts speaking only in the second chapter onwards. Okay, so last episode we saw the qualities of a good student, isn't it? Now here we see the one of the most foremost quality or the characteristic of a good teacher is to listen patiently, to understand what the problem is and then finding the solution. Yeah, so that's what Krishna does in the first chapter. So the first shloka in Gita is from Dhritarashtra. So just to give you a little background story, when the war is, when the war was like declared that yes, it's going to happen. So Vedavyasa comes in and says that Dhritarashtra is blind, so he cannot go into the battlefield. So to see the war, if he wants to see what's the progress, and it's not that it's closer to the kingdom, isn't it? So he will not get everyday information. So he wanted. So Vedavyasa tells for until the war is over, from the time the war begins to the time that war ends, I can give you the Divya Drishti through which you can see. So it's not just seeing from just like looking. It is through all the senses you can actually feel the war sitting over there. So do you want that? So Dhritarashtra didn't want that. He said, no, I don't want it. But what you can do is you can give that to Sanjaya. Okay, and Sanjaya will in turn will tell whatever is happening. So he didn't want to be the first person to see it. He wanted somebody else to explain what was happening over there. So that's how Sanjaya gets the Divya Drishti to see the entire war. And he was even blessed to hear every word of Krishna also there. So the Bhagavad Gita, though it was given to Arjuna, it was also Sanjay was able to get the benefit of that. Yeah, he was even able to see the Vishwarupa also. So the first shloka is from Sanjay. Sorry, from Dhritarashtra. Second one is the Sanjayas. So verse 1.1. Dhritarashtra uvacha धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत Sanjaya. I'll chant it once more so we can also practice the chanting part. Dhritarashtra uvacha Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Imakurvata Sanjaya. So Dhritarashtra is telling, oh Sanjaya, what is it that you are seeing? What did my sons and the Pandu sons do? Mamaka Pandavaschaiva, my sons. Mamaka, mine, and Pandu sons. What did they do? Kimakurvata, what did they do? So, if you look at it, war was inevitable, right? So, but still, they all have gone to the battlefield. That also Dhritarashtra know. But why did he ask this verse to Sanjaya then? To why? What did my sons do? What did the sons of Pandu do? Of course, they were going to fight over there. But in spite of it, why was this apprehension with Dhritarashtra? So the Dhritarashtra's fondness for his own sons, it had clouded his wisdom. Okay, the Viveka part has gone in him, and he's deviated from the right path. He's changed the route. He felt so in why he was it was more like he wanted the war. So why did he was so apprehensive is because it was dharma kshetre. What is it? In the land of dharma. Dharma means dharayiti iti dharma. Dharayati iti dharma. Dharayiti, that which upholds, protects. Basis of everything is dharma. So that which holds, that which protects dharma. So dharma kshetra, they were in that place. It was a dharma kshetra. It was also called as Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is described as Kurukshetram Devayajanam. Kurukshetram Devayajanam means earlier Kurukshetra, it was the place where it was a sacrificial arena. It was a place where the yajnam used to happen. So of the gods. So they were invoking gods. So all the yajnam, homam used to happen in that particular place. So it was actually a very positive energy space. The land was it was a very positive energy space. So, he feared actually that positive energy would influence the minds of his sons and they will back out. He was more worried about that. He wanted the war, in fact, more than Duryodhana. So I think, maybe it was also the influence of his father why Duryodhana became like that. Yeah. So if you look at it, yes, Dhritarashtra was like, he wanted the throne. So he had like a lot of obsession for the throne, for the crown that he was putting it on his head. Why was it like, ideally we say that, why was he was here, some people tell that Dhritarashtra was not wrong. Yeah. He was the eldest son, right? So what if he was blind? Yeah, that was not his fault. And okay, fine, he was not given the right to the throne. So Duryodhana could have, because he was the eldest son of the eldest king. The king was Dhritarashtra. So his eldest son, Duryodhana, should be actually getting the throne. So what is wrong in that? So ideally, that is the situation. But with this dynasty was Bharata's dynasty. In Bharata's dynasty, they followed from long time, from, back his ancestors. From Bharata, they followed another prerequisite. Who had the right to the throne? So it was not just the eldest son. In fact, the one who was worthy to be chosen, the king. So it was like, whoever was worthy of becoming a king had the right to the throne. In fact, even Bharata's eldest son did not become the king. Bharata's eldest son was not his successor. In fact, Bharata performed a yajnam, and he had the Bhumanya was his name. So Bhumanya was born, and he had the right to the throne. So he was made the king. It was not Bharata's eldest son. So that's how it used to go. So they were choosing the worthiest person to become the king. So in that way, if you look at it, they were not, they were, they could choose whether it was Yudhishthira or Duryodhana who had to be the king. So here in this place, in this particular generation, the gurus, Bhishma, in fact, all the citizens also felt that Yudhishthira was the best choice as Yuvaraja because he was more worthy of becoming a king than Duryodhana. So that is why they wanted Yudhishthira to become the king. So it was not just, and also if you look at it, Yudhishthira was eldest to even Duryodhana also. So in all probabilities, Yudhishthira should have been the king. But anyway, this kind of war and jealousy, everything happened, and it resulted in this particular situation. So that is why Dhritarashtra, even then, when the war was declared, everybody are in the battlefield. In spite of it, he was apprehensive whether will the war happen. And finally, if Duryodhana changes his mind, will the crown go back to Yudhishthira? So it was not because Duryodhana had to be the king. Dhritarashtra's the crown which is there on his head, will that slip away, was more of a worry for him than anything else. Look at the second verse now. Sanjaya uvacha drishtva tu pandavanīkam vyūdhan duryodhanastada acharyamupasangamya raja vachanam abravīt. Sanjaya uvacha drishtva tu pandavanīkam vyūdhan duryodhanastada acharyamupasangamya raja vachanam abravīt. So Sanjaya, after listening to what did my sons and Pandu sons do, was the question asked by Sanjaya, asked by Dhritarashtra. And Sanjaya says, so Sanjaya was a man of wisdom. He knew, he understood the moment Dhritarashtra asked this question itself, Sanjaya understood why Dhritarashtra is asking this question. So he wanted to clear that concern of Dhritarashtra. So he indirectly says, the war will happen. How he told? He told that by informing that Pandavas were all ready, standing in a battle formation, ready to fight. So you don't have to worry. Pandavas are not going to go back. They are going to have the war. So they are already standing in a battle formation. They all are ready to fight. Okay, so indirectly he said, you don't have to worry. War will happen. Then he also told about his own son also, because there were the two questions, right? So he wanted to address the other question also. What did my sons do? So he says that Duryodhana saw the army of Pandavas and he was baffled. So he had underestimated the Pandavas. He thought, the entire Krishna's army was on the Kaurava side. So he felt that, we already have a big army, huge army. Well, what will these 5 people do? How much of army they can, gather? But when he saw them in the battlefield with such an army, though it was lesser than Kaurava army, but he was still baffled with seeing that army. So he started to feel a little worried. He started feeling nervous. It went beyond his expectation. No, he expected something else to happen and something else happened. So he goes to his guru Dronacharya. Okay, and what he says he pretends that he is going there to offer his respects, to offer his salutations to his guru. So whenever we start something, we start with the Guru Vandanam. No, so he wanted to start with the Guru Vandanam, but that was just to show outside. Inside, his actual purpose was to reduce the intensity of his own nervousness. Because he feared at that particular time, he really feared the outcome of the war. He was actually tensed. He was nervous. Let's see what he does then. Pashyetam panduputranam आचार्य महतीं च मूं व्यूढान् द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येण धीमता पश्यैतां पाण्डुपुत्राणाम् आचार्य महतीं च मूं व्यूढान् द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येण धीमता. Goes to Dronacharya, and then he wants to remind Dronacharya something. It's all because of his nervousness. See, we also do know when we are nervous, when we are confused, we don't do the right things. Yeah. So this is what happened to even Duryodhana. So he went to Dronacharya and he reminded Dronacharya, saying that, see, you know what? Who is the commander of their army? You know that? He said, it is Drishtadyumna. And who is Drishtadyumna? Drishtadyumna is Drupada's son. Now, why does it matter? Drishtadyumna, Drupada, how does it matter? It is because once upon a time, Dronacharya and Drupada were very close friends. They were like thick pals. They were, like one knows the other so very well. That was how it was. At that time, later, they fight and they become enemies. And, Drupada was, when Pandavas and Kauravas, they finished their education under Dronacharya, when they asked what is the Guru Dakshina that he needs, they said, Dronacharya says, bring Drupada in chain, imprison him and bring him to me. That was what he had told. And in fact, it was Arjuna who went and imprisoned Drupada. He fought and, he won, and then he imprisoned Drupada and brings him to Dronacharya. So that kind of that history was there. But later, yeah, Drupada becomes Arjuna's father-in-law also later. Right? So now the Drupada's son was Drishtadyumna. So Drishtadyumna, at that point of time, he was also trained under Dronacharya. Okay, so indirectly, Duryodhana was trying to tell Dronacharya that, I don't see full loyalty in you. I think he doesn't tell that, but he says he feels that will Dronacharya flip sides? Will he join into his enemy? So that is what he was worried about. So he was more like being sarcastic, reminding him that, I know what's there in you, what's there in your mind, kind of a thing. Even without understanding whether Dronacharya felt that way or not. Verse 1.4. So here from now on, we'll take all the 3 verses together and then I will explain to you together. Okay. Atra shura maheshwasa bhimarjuna samayudhi yuyudhano viratascha drupadascha maharatha. Atra shura maheshwasa भीमार्जुन समायुधि युयुधानो विराटश्च द्रुपदश्च महारथः धृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान् पुरुजित् कुन्तिभोजश्च शैभ्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः धृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान् पुरुजित् कुन्तिभोजश्च शैभ्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः. Next one. युधामन्युश्च विक्रान्त उत्तमौजाश्च वीर्यवान् सौभद्रो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्व एव महारथाः. युधामन्युश्च विक्रान्त उत्तमौजाश्च वीर्यवान् Saubhadro Draupadeyascha Sarva eva Maharathaha. So here, Duryodhana is listing all the warriors of his enemies. He's listing all the warriors who are on the Pandava side. So he says that in their army, in the Pandavas' army, there are many powerful warriors. Yeah, Yuyudhan, Virata is there, Drupada is there. They're all wielding mighty bows. They're having lot of weapons with them. And they are, he wants to remind that they are equivalent to Bhima and Arjuna. So they're all under the list of the greatest warriors, fierce warriors they are. Then there are accomplished heroes like Drishtaketu, Chekitan, who's the Chekitan is there. Then the gallant king of Kashi is there. Purujit is there. Kunti Bhoja, Shaibhya. So many people, so many warriors are there on the other side, he wants to tell. Indirectly, yes, again, his nervousness is showing up here. So he says all the best of the men are on the other side now. Now we don't have a lot of people here. So he was like trying to compare now. So now sometimes when we are going to some competition, then we look at their side and then we always feel how much ever we have prepared and gone. The moment we see the other side, we feel that maybe they have prepared more and come. Maybe they know more than us. That again, it's because of the lack of confidence in us. So see here again, Duryodhana's character also sometimes applies to our own self, isn't it? We also, when we are in a competition and when our confidence is less, when we have this nervousness coming in, then we start comparing ourselves with somebody else also, isn't it? Then he says that Yuddhamanyu is there, Uttamauja is there, the son of Subhadra, Abhimanyu is there, sons of Draupadi are there. They're all great warrior chiefs. So they all are there in their team. That's what they want. He wants to say. And then, so it's all this is stemming up from Duryodhana's anxiety. So somewhere, even he doesn't see his own army. He doesn't see his own army strength. He is only looking at the other side of it. So if you are looking at in a very subtle manner here also, the more we look externally is when we get all this kind of nervousness, excitement, anxiety, stress. We need to be looking at internal. We need to look at what is our internal thing telling, what is our internal mind telling. Look inside rather than look outside. Look at your own self. Look at your own strength. Look at where you are good at and then go accordingly instead of looking at somebody else's strength and comparing yourself with. Okay. So let's look at the next one. Asmakantu vishishtaye tannibodhadvijottama nayaka mama sainyasya Sanyartantan bravimite. Asmakantu vishishtaye tan nibodhadvijotama nayaka mama sainyasya sanyartantan bravimite. He says, he calls Dronacharya as Dvijotama. So this was not in Dvijotama is twice born. This was not in praise of Dronacharya. So normally this is a word that we use for Brahmanas, one who is, they're like twice born. They are born and then once they finish their studies, they become, they're proficient in Vedas and Shastras. So they are like twice born, Dvijotama, one who knows, one who is equivalent to Brahman, one who knows the knowledge of Brahman. Okay, so he is also a Brahman. So that is why it is twice born, Dvijotama. But here, he's not telling it in praise. He's telling it in another sense. He says, because he wants to indirectly say that you're not just the guru of Kauravas, you're also the guru of Pandavas. And what? Arjuna was his favorite student. Yeah. So he went to a great extent to make sure that Arjuna was the greatest warrior, isn't it? So you also must have heard about Ekalavya's story. Isn't it? Ekalavya was a great archer, but somewhere Dronacharya felt that Arjuna, Ekalavya was much more better than Arjuna, and he didn't want Arjuna to lose that place. So that is why he asked the thumb as Guru Dakshina from Ekalavya, isn't it? Because without the thumb, the bow and the arrow cannot be wielded. So that was how he said. But in spite of it, Ekalavya was able to practice without that, and he actually he tried to see what is the other way around to practice archery. So he practiced it, and even without the thumb, he was able to wield his bow and anyway. So coming back to here, so he was saying that Arjuna is your favorite student, okay, and he's on the other side. So he was again trying to tell, doubting the loyalty of Dronacharya, whether he would not fight properly. Will he just show that he's fighting and he will really not put in his effort to beat the Pandavas' army? So, and he says that you are the best of the Brahmin. He's telling that you're the best of Brahmin, but if he does not display his valor in the battle, if he's not showing his 100% loyalty, he will be considered a lowly Brahmin. He will come down, he says. You are a Dvijottama. You are a knowledgeable person. You are equivalent to Brahman. So you're like, you move to that level with your knowledge of Shastras. If you do not show the loyalty, you're going low. You'll become a lowly Brahmin, he says. It was an insult to Dronacharya. He says that who are this? Who is a lowly Brahmin who's only thinking about food and a lavish lifestyle? So he says that if you do at the king's, you're in the king's palace, you will get good food, you have good shelter, the king is taking care of you. So, even otherwise, because you're the guru, you will be taken care of, but you will fall down at the level uh, of everybody because you are not being very loyal kind. So, he's like trying to do a emotional blackmailing, telling that you will come down otherwise if you don't show your loyalty. So he was very sarcastic also to Dronacharya. He was very insulting also. And the moment he told it, he also understood that, it probably may not go well. What if Dronacharya says, okay, fine, you all say, I will go. If he says like that, then it will be a problem, right? So again, to boost up Drona's morale, he starts saying, I know that we also have lot of great generals even in our army. Okay, so he started talking about his own army now. Okay, he says that our men are also equally strong, equally fierce. We have also very great warriors on our side also. भवान् भीष्मश्च कर्णश्च कृपश्च समितिञ्जयः अश्वत्थामा विकर्णश्च सौमदित्तिस्तथैव च भवान् भीष्मश्च कर्णश्च कृपश्च समितिञ्जयः अश्वत्थामा विकर्णश्च सौमदत्तिस्तथैव च. So says that these are the personalities in our side also. We have Bhishma, we have Karna, Kripacharya, Ashwathama is there, Dronacharya's son, Vikarna is there, Bhurishrava is there. So they are all these people who are also ever victorious, who have never seen failure. We also have these many great warriors in our side also. अन्ये च बहवः शूरा मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविताः नानाशस्त्रप्रहरणाः सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः. अन्ये च बहवः शूरा मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविताः नानाशस्त्रप्रहरणाः sarve yuddha visharadaha. There are many heroes, many great warriors who have dedicated their lives for my sake. See how much of an ego he has. He says that for my sake, not for the kingdom's welfare, not for the subjects. So he says that they're all dedicated for my sake. They have various kinds of weapons, various kinds of missiles, and all of them are skilled in battle. They are having a lot of expertise, they have a lot of weapons, and they are great warriors. So we also don't have to fear, we will only be victorious. And see, he's indirectly telling there are many heroes who have dedicated their lives for my sake. Again, he's reminding Dronacharya, see, you also have to dedicate your life for my sake, because you represent this side of the army. So again, it's again Duryodhana constantly telling Dronacharya, because he fears that since Arjuna was the favorite student, will Dronacharya fight properly? Will he show that kind of a lenience towards the Pandavas? अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितम् पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषां बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम् अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितम् पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषां balam bhimabhirakshitam. So here Duryodhana is again trying to tell that the strength of our army is unlimited. We have great warriors on our side. We are equally or more. We have more strength than the Pandavas army also. And what? We have another advantage. We are safely guarded by Bhishma. His grandfather, Bhishma, is there in our side, and he is one of the mightiest warrior. So we are marshaled by him. We are safe here. We have more strength than the Pandavas army. Whereas on the other side, it is Bhima, and Bhima's strength is limited, whereas Bhishma's strength is unlimited. So it is like Vinashakale Viparita Buddhi, which means that, when that end is drawing nearer, we sometimes, that ego rises in us too much, and that's when we make a lot of mistakes. So we don't stay calm. And sometimes, like you see, the hare and the tortoise race, why did the hare lose? Because of his ego. That my strength is unlimited and the tortoise strength is limited. See, he's running very slowly. He's not even running. He's just crawling while I can run. And that ego, almost when he was in the finishing line, he decides to take rest and wait for the tortoise to come. Isn't it? So during the end, when the end is near, sometimes we tend to do a lot of mistakes. That's again something which we have to learn in our own lives, as to, are we raising our ego to such an extent that we create harm to our own self? Yeah. So here, instead of being humble, he started evaluating even before the war is not yet started. They're just there. They're standing there waiting to begin. And before that, he started deciding what will be the fate of the other people. Yeah. So this is where the ego brings in a lot of destruction to our own self. So the lesson that we need to learn is not to be egoistic, even if we are winning anything. Even we are at the verge of winning, let us not, or even if we have won it, let us not get into that ego that, I have won it. It's because of my effort. Always take it to what we saw in the last episode, Ishvara Pranidhana. Surrender even whatever you have gained from it, even your victories. You don't take the credit and give the credit to the divine that it is because of the grace of the divine. It is because of that blessing. It is because of that grace that I am here. So do not get into that mode of raising your ego and to fall down. And that fall will be very, very steep and it will create a lot of harm to our own selves. Okay. So that with that, let's conclude this session and we'll see the remaining verses as to what is Duryodhana telling, and then let's move to what is Arjuna's conclusion. So here till verse 10 we were looking at what is Duryodhana telling, what is the lesson that we can learn from Duryodhana, and next following verses we will see what we can learn from Arjuna. Okay. Om Shanti 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 Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu